Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It's Heather with Reflecting Inward Life Coaching, and we're continuing our series on the 26 common mental mistakes. Ultimately, this entire series is to help us to improve our relationships, especially with ourselves, by identifying the limiting beliefs, the beliefs that are snowballing throughout our life to create havoc, to help us to not only identify them, but to overcome them so that we no longer have to live in a matrix of falsehoods. So, today we are doing the 26 common mental mistakes number 7, which is emotional reasoning. And this comes from Dr. Aldo Pucci's book, Feel the Way You Want to Feel No Matter What. So, with emotional reasoning, there is a depressed or pessimistic thinking. This is a vicious cycle. So, similar to the last video, we talked about how we have this fatalistic view, perhaps, of thinking of the worst case scenario all the time. Well, if we happen to have this depressed or pessimistic thinking cycle, it continues to snowball and to run into other parts of our lives and to other situations that doesn't need to. This mindset affects our stress levels, our bodily functions, our cognitive processing, and our physical health. And all of these things I just mentioned affect how we present ourselves in our relationships, especially with ourselves. So it's important for us to tackle this, to really get into the belief system behind emotional reasoning. And this really is the core of cognitive behavioral therapy and rational emotive behavioral therapy. This is why those techniques exist, is the emotional reasoning. So let's jump in further. All right, so here's our example. Again, these are examples that many adolescents may have because the slideshow is created specifically for helping teachers in their classrooms deal with the various challenges adolescents have. So this is a potential situation that an adolescent might have and that you probably may have at some point in your life as well. So here we go. This is the example. This morning, my mom told me that we are putting down my dog because it's sick. This afternoon, a group project had a setback. Nothing is fair in life. Everything ends up bad. We're going to fail on our project. So think for a minute, when was the last time you maybe were having kind of a bad day and you started to see everything was going to fail, nothing was going to end up right? I just go home and go to sleep and wake up tomorrow because everything is wrong right now. Okay, so this is where we take one emotional situation and we start seeing everything else as being impossible, depressed, for everything from a pessimistic point of view. Okay, so what do we do in these cases? So hopefully you've already seen the video about the cognitive behavioral therapy process, how it works to overcome our limiting beliefs. But if not, I'll give you a very short version here. So the first thing we do is we identify the emotion. How do we feel in that moment? And let me be honest with you, at one point with the last therapist that I went to before healing my inner child, he asked me how I felt, and I honestly didn't feel anything. I couldn't verbalize how I felt. He gave me a list and I looked through them and I was like, I really don't know which one I feel. So if you're one of those people that you know you're having an emotion, but you can't really nail down what that is, the thing with our belief systems and utilizing CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is that there's a belief that leads to an emotion that leads to a bodily response which leads to a behavior, okay? And so if we're not sure what that emotion is, I would suggest actually just focusing on your body. So for a minute, just don't worry about the feeling and just think about your body and how it's responding, Okay. When you think about how your body is responding, you'd be surprised how quickly sometimes an emotion can be attached to how your body feels. So at that point, I would say, do you normally think this way when you're not upset about other things? So if you remove the initial stressor of being told your dog is going to be put down today, and that did not happen, would your emotional response be the same or the same intensity when you learned that this project had a setback? Okay. And then think about, like, what's the difference? What's the difference in your own personal response normally when that initial stressor is not there? Okay. So hopefully after doing this self-analysis, this would hopefully be the response. I feel sad and helpless that I can't help my dog. I don't normally think everything is unfair and ends up bad. My sadness and helpless feelings are affecting my thoughts about our project failing when the project problem is really a minor setback that can be fixed. Okay, so literally, when it comes to emotional reasoning, we use literal reasoning to backtrack and to point out the culprit. The real culprit is the emotion that is creating a perspective of everything being bad. So we need to actually rationalize, reason with ourselves about the difference between what's happening right now and what normally would happen if we didn't have multiple stressors. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please send me an email or instant message, direct message, and I'd be happy to help with whatever it is that you feel you need help with. You are fabulous and wonderful. Congratulations for being on this journey to overcome your limiting mindsets, to have a more healthy, thriving life. I love you, and I'll see you next time.